I thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend today's webinar about the Pente Company and the packages that we offer. I know you're all very busy, so I appreciate it. I'm going to try and keep my comments about 15 minutes, after which we'll have another 15 minutes for a question and answer session, and during which I'll be able to answer any questions you might have about anything we talked about today. However, feel free to submit any questions during the webinar that you might think of as we go along. I'd also like to hear some suggestions about what we might talk about next month to help kind of get the idea across about what we're trying to put together here and about how and what certain things you're going to get out of becoming part of the Pente team. So the first thing I want to do is address this question that I put into the description of this month's webinar, and that is the question of, it's not a matter of why not, or not a matter of question of why, but a question of why not. And that question really came up from a discussion that I was having on one of our social media websites, where we were getting questioned a lot about how the Pente Company could help their businesses grow when they already seem to have a sort of a corner on the market and have been doing business the same way for a number of years. And the issue with that is that really, the Pente Company was designed to be very affordable so that anybody could really purchase a territory, grow and develop, and for a very minimal fee, kind of recover those costs almost immediately. So, it's kind of developed for somebody that's just starting out, but also somebody that has been in the business for a number of years. So these folks that were coming to us and saying, we've been doing the same thing that we've been doing for 50 years and it's worked fine for us, why do we need to change? Well, let me tell you about an invention that was made several years ago, a couple of 20, 30 years ago, called the fax machine. When the fax machine was first invented, it was a very, very difficult sell. Who are you going to sell it to? First person you sell it to, who are they going to fax to? We all know what a fax machine does, but you have to have a whole lot of them out there in order for it to work. So what ended up happening is it became a very difficult sell, in which eventually what they ended up doing was selling all fax machines to, let's say, law firms, for example. You've got different branch offices in New York, California, and Kansas City, and then all of a sudden this one particular law firm can now fax their documents to each of their offices immediately. And eventually, over time, other companies started buying the same thing. So now these companies can effectively get their documents to these other companies, their other branch offices, and be that much more effective, that much more efficient, and that much more faster about not just filing documents if we're still on the law firm's situation, but just getting things done in a lot more efficient and time effective manner, and cost savings. So where one firm is still waiting for the paperwork to show up in the mail, the other firm's getting their bids in. So what we're basically looking at is with this fax machine, and we now know that the fax machine, after it had sort of gone through that initial trying to sell phase, we now know that it has become an integral part of our daily lives. But what's more important than that is that the fax machine is now becoming sort of overshadowed by the scanner. Why wait and send something by fax when you can simply scan it and then email it to somebody? The point I'm trying to make is that within any business, there is evolution, there's development, there's change, there's growth, there's there's progress. And within that comes change. And we're no different. So we are just basically the next evolution in the step of this industry. And I can further prove that by, when I first got by showing you that within our industry there has already been change. When I first started out in this industry, it was myself, a car, a cell phone, and a map book. And eventually that changed to the point where it was me, my paperwork, my car, my cell phone, and a GPS. Then it started and changed and became a situation where now they're using GPSs to verify that the servers were in fact at that location and could verify that they weren't just giving gutter service. So, now we're seeing things where the software's coming up with being able to log into your account from anywhere, being able to GPS track and use your cell phones to GPS it. You've got GPS, my routes and my GPS, our servers for our office, the routes are already established before they ever leave. There's none of this hunt and peck in a map book trying to figure out where you're going. Where you could do 5 or 10 jobs in a night, now you can do 20. So again, there's just this evolution of change, and we are that evolution. We are that change in which everybody's going to, measure themselves against. We are going to be that company that revolutionizes this industry and changes the way we go about doing our business with not just advertisements, but also in the way that we market ourselves. You've got to consider with a branded name that's known throughout the country, that's a pretty powerful thing when you consider that not only are we marketing on a corporate level, but you're benefiting from all of the advertising that comes from all of the other franchisees that are out there marketing as well. So, when somebody says to me, why should I become part of the Pente system? These are the reasons why. You may have been in business for 50 years, but for the cost of what we charge, which is essentially as low as $50 a month, you take the territory, you prevent somebody else from taking it, and if we bring business, great. If we don't, what have you lost? I mean, we throw away $50 a month in our daily lives all the time. So as an investment, it's pretty hard to throw away the opportunity to allow me to bring in more business to your company. We have a vested financial interest in your success. And that's one of the things that separates us from all of these other companies that basically provide advertisers, which is what we at the corporate office do for you as well. So, what you're looking at is instead of this why, it's really more like why not? Why not risk or invest the $50 a month and let me bring you business? Now, this all ties into the different packages. And I mentioned that the packages start out as low as $50 a month. So let me see if I can get my screen share to work here. And we'll just go through these packages, and I'll show you exactly what I'm referring to when I'm talking about the different packages and how low and cheap it can be. See if we can get this to work here. There we go. The different packages that you can get into and how affordable it really is. So starting out at the very bottom, we're looking at the manager's package, okay? And for basically $50 a month, you have to do one job at $50 per job in order to break even on your franchise fees, okay? Under the franchise contract, you are required to have your own NAPs or ServeNow listing. And you can see this under the stipulation right here. This package does require a 1-year upgrade or an upgrade to the executive package after 1 year. But under the executive package, you're only required to do $100 a month, and you're basically talking about 2 jobs a month. What's important to know about all of these packages is that not only are you benefiting from all of the other advertisements that's done by the corporate office and all of the other Pente offices, the money that we receive is that corporate advertising. We're going out and advertising your services with those franchise fees. So for $50 a month, you get your own NAPs listing, which costs you what, $15, $16 a month. You do 1, 2 jobs a month, you break even. Now, keep in mind, I don't like talking about breaking even because the goal is not to break even. The goal is to bring you guys tons and tons of business that go way above and beyond what you have to pay on your royalty fees. So the idea is to start out small and gradually grow and build so that you might start off doing 5 or 10 jobs a month now, but by the time you have been with us for 5 years, you're doing 100, 200, 300, 1,000 jobs a month, depending on where you are and what territory and how many territories you have. The idea is to bring you a massive amount of volume, all for just $50 to $100 a month. Eventually, it upgrades to 100. So the manager's package is kind of your get your feet wet kind of package where you can kind of test the waters, pay the $50 a month, get your NAPs listing, see if the branded name actually will get people to be more likely to use your services versus the other people that are advertising on NAPs. And we all know if you're in this webinar right now, we all know that NAPS is a very effective tool at marketing. It's by far the most cost-effective marketing tool that I've seen so far. So getting one job a month from NAPS is typically not very difficult. So, but keeping that in mind, that's what you're looking at the manager package, which is just the $50 a month. After 1 year, it goes up to $100. But once it does go up, then you're going to go to the next package up, which is going to be your executive package. Okay, the executive package is that $100 a month, and in that package, we provide you with the Serve Manager software. The software is usable for your and is required use of your Pente business, but you can also use it with your existing business if you have a separate diversified business holding. So there is that business there, or that service that we offer there. But what's really important is that we, under this package, reimburse you for that NAPS listing. Now, why is that important? Number one, it brings in the minimum amount of business that you have to have in order to pay your royalty fees and not have to pay them out of pocket. Now, $100 a month for a franchise is pretty ridiculously low as it is. But that being what it is, you do a couple of jobs a month with the NAPS listing, you make your royalty fees. What happens is we basically have, in effect, paid you to own one of our franchises. We then take that money and then go back out, the royalty fees, and we go back out and further advertise your services to bring you in more business, more revenue, more clients. Okay? Under all of these packages, you're going to get territory exclusivity. If we sold you Atlanta, Georgia tomorrow, you would be the only one in Atlanta. Very important to know, very important concept, because if you're advertising with the Yellow Pages, they don't care how many people they're advertising. Just look at NAPS. They advertise, for as many people as are willing to get a membership and advertise in that particular territory. We don't. Once we sell a territory, you're the only one in there. The other thing to consider with the full franchise rights here that I just highlighted is that within the contracts we have, and this goes for all of the packages, we have what's called a reciprocity clause. And under that clause, every franchise owner is required to use the other franchisees. So, for example, right now, I send a ton of business out to our St. Louis office. I send business to our Topeka and Phoenix office. On occasion, I have business that I send out to our Florida owner. So if that clause was not there, I could send it to anybody that I wanted. But we want to keep all that business in-house because we want to make sure our franchisees are getting as much business as we can. The key thing about that reciprocity agreement is that you don't have to pay royalties on that business. Any business you get from the other Pente offices is royalty exempt. So it's a very important clause. For those who really can understand what we're going for and can really see the potential of what we are trying to accomplish, we have the executive package. And the only difference between this and the executive, this is the executive, this one in the executive package, is that we also offer this right here, which is the Serve Now Ad Reimbursement. Okay, so what that does in effect means is that we basically now pay for two different ads. We pay for the NAPS ad and we pay for Serve Now. It is an extra $50 a month under this package, but you have two ads that are now being paid for to try and generate you business and try and generate you revenue. So in effect, you only have to do 3 jobs a month at $50 a piece to basically break even. So if you're doing $50 per job, 3 jobs pays for it. And you didn't have to do anything for it because we paid for these 2 advertisements. And again, this is to get you off the ground and going so that you don't have to pay out of pocket for your franchise territories. So in effect, most, these 2 ads generally generate between 5 and 10 jobs a month. If you do the math, depending on how much you're charging, you should start to generate revenue almost immediately. And if you look at our opportunities page, you can kind of get an overview of what we offer under each different package. And then if you click over on these different packages, you go under the Executive Plus, it takes you right back here and shows you just all of those things. And you can, if you are interested in any of these packages, you just email us here, just contact me direct, either one through the office number. So the last package that we have, and I got to hurry up a little bit here, is the Chairman's Package. Now, Chairman's Package is not quite as affordable, but you're also looking at territories that are going to have a lot larger territory, a lot more space, but have a lot more potential volume. What you're looking at for these types of territories is basically New York or LA. And under those packages, you're going to get a dedicated sales rep that does nothing but works on yours, and I think the contracts say no more than 5 other accounts. They are dedicated sales reps to the largest territories in order to generate as much revenue for those territories as possible. We provide additional online advertisements as we generate, or as we locate them. We'll do some research, figure out if it's going to be cost effective. It might be your local bar association. It might be here in Missouri, there's a Missouri Bar Journal that you could advertise in. It might encompass a lot of those things. We also provide you with various customized marketing materials, and those materials are dependent upon, there's kind of a negotiation that goes into the price of the territory, but also the number of marketing materials that you're looking at, the number of territories that you buy, and just all of those different things. So I'm going to see if I can get back to the this page here. So that is the 4 packages, and I hope I've kind of explained why and how. It's kind of set up for everybody to own. Trying to focus on getting rid of the screen share here. Bear with me. There we go. It's set up for everybody to own, whether you're starting out, being very cost effective as it is. It's set up for everybody to own, but also for people that are or have been in business for a number of years. The key goal and the key idea here is that we have that vested financial interest in your success, and so what we do is we take those royalty fees and we turn it into more advertising. That advertising generates more business for you guys, which in turn generates more revenue and more royalties for us. We then take those royalties and do more advertising, and you can see the cyclical win-win situation. Big difference is for the same amount of money that you put in for a Yellow Pages ad, it doesn't matter. They don't care if you get 1, 5, or 0 jobs. Put 50 bucks in and it's just gone. And believe me, I've done a lot of advertising in a lot of different venues, and there's a lot of them out there that don't really care. So with that being said, that is my presentation, my quick presentation on the why versus why not and the various packages. I'd love to answer any questions that anybody might have. I know I kind of went through that stuff pretty quick. There should be a question and answer deal down in there somewhere, so if anybody has any, let's see if I can. So it's up to you guys. We've got a number of viewers, and I know that there was a number of people that I've talked to before in the past that had registered and are probably attending. So I'm glad you guys could make it. It's up to you. Here we go. This is your time to submit any questions. Anybody at all? And feel free, again, if you don't have any questions now, and you think of something later, feel free to submit them later, and you can always just email us through the corporate website. Hi, Kim. Good to see you again. Glad you were able to tune in. Yes, absolutely. That's a great question, Kim. Kim was wondering if you can coordinate Pente with her existing business. Absolutely. You're basically looking at a business diversification. If you were to Google Coca-Cola, for example, they own a number of different brands. I think one of them is Minute Maid. I think another one is Dasani Water, and I think they even have an energy drink. They all have these various different brands and these various different drinks, if you will, but you wouldn't necessarily know it unless you did the research. And we're no different. So if you were to buy one of our Pente franchises, you just have to make sure that you're separating the two businesses, but you basically diversify. And let me make sure to note that any business that you are currently doing will always stay separate. We don't want any of that business. We don't want to. We're not going to try and charge you royalties on that business. It's completely separate. You keep everything completely separate. You only pay royalties on the business that we bring you. Does that pretty well answer your question there, Kim? I have to follow up with you too. I do remember that name, and I do remember looking you up because it's been a while since we talked. So hopefully we can get together and maybe get you going. And also, don't forget, we have another webinar next month. I'll talk to our marketing team here shortly to try and address some of the biggest questions that people have. And this is a big one. Hi, Kim. So yeah, this is a big question, Kim, that a lot of people have, especially for existing business owners. They definitely want to make sure that their existing business is that they can keep it separate and that they're not going to have to pay royalties. In fact, we have a number of franchisees that are currently in business with us that own separate businesses. Our franchise owner in Topeka runs a bail bond company, but he was also doing process service as part of that business. And so he just integrated the Pente system into his business, but kept the two separate names. And so any process service work that he does under his bail bond company, he keeps separate from the Pente business. Down in San Antonio, we've got a gal that does a mobile notary business, and it works real well for her because she can, while she's out driving around doing her notary thing and preparing documents and things of that nature, as she drives by someplace that might need to get something served, she'll just drop off the paperwork there. So it works out real well for her. The gentleman in St. Louis that I mentioned earlier, he already had his own process serving business, and he just basically diversified, and I think he still runs both of them. And I think we are currently in discussions with another guy in Nashville, another gentleman in Nashville that also does the same type of work that we provide, and plans to keep them separate. And also the gentleman in Indiana bought the whole state and is already providing these types of services, but is keeping them separate as well. So with the Serve Manager software, we basically set up two separate accounts for him because he wanted to run his existing business through the Serve Manager software. And so we have two different, or setting up two different accounts for him to be able to do that if he wants to. I think we're still kind of in the negotiations of that. So it's still up to you guys here. I'm still, any questions you might have, feel free to submit. And if there's any particular items of discussion or topics that you would like to have addressed that we haven't touched on yet, feel free to submit those, and we'll try to address those on the next webinar in more detail. But I'll try to touch on them here if I can. But the main idea with the franchise system is that when you boil it all down, what we basically or effectively are is an advertising system. And that advertising system has a financial interest in your success, which is not what anybody else does, as far as advertising goes. I mean, yeah, they want to make sure that you're getting some business, but they're not actively going out and pursuing that business like we are, because my paycheck is basically dependent upon the amount of business that you guys get. So the more business you get, the more we make, and so it's in our best interest to make sure that you're getting that work. Okay, Carrie, let me read your question here. Do Pente franchise refer? Out of the gate, it really kind of depends. And Carrie's got a great question. How much, on average, do Pente franchisees refer business to other franchise owners? And do they see much referred business? Well, the question of referred is a little bit questionable. It has to be defined a little bit because when you get a job from NAPS, you could consider that a referred job. But I think the crux of your question is how much work am I going to be sending to St. Louis? And if you open up an office in Atlanta, for example, how much business are you going to be getting from the other franchisees? Well, it just kind of depends. It depends on how much business they bring in, where they're going to be at, as far as what their territory is if they're in Atlanta versus Dodge City, Kansas. Dodge City, Kansas isn't going to be sending much business out, and the amount of population that they have out there doesn't warrant much business being sent to them. So there's a little give and take there, but ultimately I think most franchisees are going to see a minimal amount of business from referrals. Again, the reason they're so affordable is because you're working off of NAPS and ServeNow listings, which are designed to generate enough money to pay your royalties, but they're not designed to pay or to build your business. That's what we're for. So you do the work by doing the amount of business that comes in, 5 to 10 jobs a month that you might get from NAPS or ServeNow. Then you pay your royalties, and then we go out and we try to get the big contracts. For example, if you're in Denver, I know one client right now we've been trying to get for a while that has, if I remember correctly, 700 jobs a month. And it's a government office, and I'd love to have that business. And I've been good with them because I've worked with them for a while. The only reason we haven't gotten it so far is because we just haven't opened up that Denver office. So, and there's also the issue of it's a contract, so we have to wait until the other contract expires. But I do know that contract has a number of referral jobs. So if we were to get it, you're probably looking at 500 jobs in the Denver area and 200 jobs a month that you're going to be referring out. Where those jobs go, anybody's guess. But if you're part of our system, you're going to get it. By contract, you're required. The key is if you're not part of our system, you have no chance. It's kind of like playing the lottery. You're never going to win $1 million if you don't play. If you're not part of the Pente system, you're never going to get that business. So you've got to be in it. You've got to be in it to win it. So does that help answer that question there, Carrie? Again, don't be afraid to, we touched on just a few of the basic concepts today, but don't be afraid if we didn't touch on something, a concern, a question that you had. Don't be afraid to follow up with us at the corporate office. We're going to have these webinars once a month, so don't be afraid to touch base with us right after the webinar. I'll be happy to take any calls, emails, address any of those issues or questions that you might have. If you want to wait until next month's webinar, we'll go ahead and submit them to me, and then we can go ahead and plan to have that part of that next webinar so that we make sure that we get it addressed then. And we've got just another minute or so here before we'll sign off. But if there's any last-minute questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. But definitely don't hesitate to give us a call in the future or tomorrow, if you have any questions we didn't get to. So very excited around here. There's lots of things happening. We're very close to opening. Right now we contract out our marketing services, but we're getting very, very close to opening up our internal marketing and business development department. And that's very exciting for us. I think about we need 15 offices sold, but we've already sold 2 or 3 since then, and I've got a gentleman in Texas that's talking about buying 4. So we're somewhere in the neighborhood of about 7 or 8 And if I move a few things around, we've got everything we need. And once that happens, we're talking about hiring people, not people out of high school to sit on phones and make cold calls. We're talking about professionals that you pay $60,000, $70,000 a year to in salary, plus commissions and bonuses based on company performance. These are the kinds of things you'll get from your Yellow Pages ad, and that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm referring to when I say your $50 a month is getting you a whole lot more than just an ad on Next. And that's what I mean by what we're going after, those large volume contracts. So we'll have a page put up on the website here pretty soon with more information about that. But again, we're running out of time here. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them to the company through the website. If you go onto the corporate contact page and submit your questions or concerns there, I'll be more than happy to get back. That goes directly to my email. You're more than welcome to give us a call. Numbers on the board behind me. Appreciate you guys taking the time to be here today. And again, if you have any topics you want us to address next month, again, feel free to submit those. And I look forward to bringing some of you guys on board and moving forward. Have a great afternoon.